entertainment, the best of news, the best of information, something that is educative. You're right here at
Security business is often described as everybody's business. And if indeed security business is everybody's business, how come our security situation and problem and challenges in Nigeria seem to be intractable? Welcome to Development Pillars on KAFTAN TV. Today we are focusing our attention on security. Today you hear of kidnapping, tomorrow you hear of banditry, people killed here, people killed there. Like they say, now so we go the day. Today I have as my guest someone who is very vast in security architecture. You understand security like the back of his palm. My guest today is Elder Ayokunle Fagbemi. He's the Executive Director of Center for Peace Building and Socio-Economic Resources Development. Elder Fagbemi, welcome to Development Pillars.
Thank you very much for having me.
You have seen what is happening in our country. And all these killings, kidnapping, for ransom, banditry, here and there. Is this how we will continue to live?
I do not think it's the right way to continue. And I want to believe that we have now gotten to the stage where it is clear that something has to give way and will have to be done. And more emphatically, in your opening comments, you said security is everybody's business. It is now becoming clear to each and every Nigerian citizen as individuals, families, and corporate entities that we must step up our ante regarding security. And not just security, security and safety.
Safety.
Now, when you begin to see that people are a little more conscious about security and safety, and we are now getting to the level where we are beginning to label things correctly. Either to we were not labeling things correctly. We will just say there was a clash. Either you want to say an ethnic clash or ethno-religious clash, or we want to use the label farmer-herders clash. Painfully, community clash and all those kind of things are not provided for in our legal and policy frameworks. When you have what they refer to as clash, you will discover that a number of criminal activities have occurred. For example, in my center, we have been able to juxtapose what is referred to as farmer-herders clash to having 76, 78 violations of the criminal code.
Wow.
And 58 violations in the penal code.
Wow.
So when you want to disaggregate, you will discover that when they say overnight, a particular village, Mangu or whatsoever, in any part of the country, be it in Zamfara, and we label them bandits, or say some nomadic herdsmen, this or that, came around and so number of persons were killed. Houses were burnt. The correct legal language, which you are very familiar with, is for you to start saying, okay, if a female was affected as a victim what happened to that female. Was she assaulted?
Yes.
If there was just summary slapping, beating, that is going to be a low level of assault.
Okay.
Aggravated assaults that can lead to bodily harm. You start escalating and within the ambits of the law. And then if it eventually gets to the level where the lady was sexually violated, then you'll be talking in terms of rape. If after sexually violating her, something like injury occurred,
yes,
using a particular harm, and it leads to her death, so you'll discover that you have to talk about murder alongside. And if it affected the individuals, the same thing. Now, you would have expected, before now we were not doing that, and I'm seeing that we are beginning to make progress. And this is where I'm happy that Development Pillars is considering this security issue, because there is a major nexus between peace, security and development. Many did not listen to people like us when we started talking as far back as 2004 that we needed to put early warning mechanisms in place.
Yes.
If you put up early warning mechanisms and you are able to activate early responses concerning these issues, you will discover that you will be able to have in place measures that will curb these crimes and criminalities. Why is it important that we should do it, and why has it become a major concern? Security, when you now want to go a little bit academic, you have food security.
Yes.
The encroachment and the series of security breaches affecting farmlands have led to a food crisis.
Food crisis and famine.
Because...
And inflation.
Now, thank you very much. Today, we no longer have the opportunities of enjoying simply the joy of eating this corn as fresh as they should be, and early enough, and a number of things that ordinarily people should just have easily, and the farmers should harvest on time and bring to the farm is no longer there. Yes. Today, this afternoon, a bag of rice is being sold for about 70 naira.
70,000.
70,000 naira.
Yes.
Now, if you put that in mind, you will now understand that we must do a lot now to reverse the trajectory. We must do a lot more to reverse the trajectory because, for example, in Ekiti, 2 traditional rulers have now been killed. If either to the traditional rulers in some communities were wanting to be very accommodative, they have to become more conscious and know that a lot more must be put in place. And then we will now begin to activate some of the things that are in the annals of our legal and policy frameworks. We say it is all of government, all of society that must address security issues.
Yes.
And then we will now say to ourselves, what are the things that we must do? Policing. We need to understand that policing is everybody's business. Contrary to what many want to define within the ambits of the 1999 Constitution, where they say there shall be only one police force.
Yes.
It did not say that policing will not be multi-tiered, will not be multi-sectoral. It will equally moving away from being multi-tiered, multi-sectoral, it must be multi-dimensional. and multi-stakeholder involvement. And that is why when you move into the Police Act, you will discover that even the police force is structured in a manner that is supposed to be multi-tiered. And that is why the least at the grassroots level, you have police beats. That we are supposed to have policemen walking up and down along a particular street, along a particular avenue. And you now must move and have an alert post at the next tier, upper to the police beats. The alert post will be in charge of a conglomeration of many police beats, so that if there's anything, they will be able to act. And usually, if you are doing this, you involve the community. And that is why, for example, I grew up in Bodija, Ibadan, where the system at that time was such that we had police officers maintaining the beat and patrolling.
On bicycle?
Thank you very much.
On
foot and on bicycle. In such a way and manner that after a while they get to know who is who lives on this street and in which house. So if there is a strange person, it's so easy. And if somebody has gone out and some people suddenly come into that compound, they can easily pay a closer attention.
Even without using security camera. Using intelligence camera and
thank you very much.
And being on ground.
So alert posts feed into the divisional police stations. The police stations, either if it's a larger community where you have many of this and you now have police stations, and then series of police stations into the divisional police, and then the area command. And from the area command, you get to the state command, and then the zonal command, which is usually two states or one state in some particular cases. And then you get to the national. So basically, in terms of policing, you have a triad. There is a regular statutory policing that is supposed to be done. And then when you are talking of policing, you'll discover that I've been using policing. You have a framework for policing the forests already in place.
That's the forest guard that the president was talking about.
National conservatory guard system. They are already there. The parks and conservatory guards, they are there. They are supposed to police. So when some of us analysts are saying we have many ungoverned spaces, some of us will say, sorry, it means that we have not been empowering and equipping
the agencies created
to take care of that, and those ones have not been performing their roles.
Duties.
You have those who are in charge of biosafety and biotechnology and things like that,
for food
things like that are like the old sanitary inspectors, and they have larger and deeper responsibilities. If all these ones are playing their roles of policing, then you have the road safety, which is equally a policing instrument and framework. They would have enough data, and they do have the data that will have been able to manage all these things. So going forward, which is the most important thing, is that we need to start labeling things correctly. We need to activate our laws. We need to plead with public officials, starting from the presidency, to say the Constitution provides for the National Security Council, National Defense Council, the Nigerian Police Council. Kindly allow these councils to meet as and at when due. Under these councils, for the military, you have the Army, the Defense Council being fed into through the Army Council, the Navy
and the Air Force.
And the Air Force. we need to start activating them properly to meet us at when due.
Sure.
We equally have at the level of intelligence data gathering a number of frameworks that we must make to work. Then at the state level, the same thing goes. We need to activate, and at the local government, the same thing goes.
We'll pick up from this when we come back from the break. Ladies and gentlemen, it's deep, very deep. And you saw I didn't interrupt Fagbemi. How we got this wrong is what we begin to look at when we come back from the break. Please don't change the dial. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Development Pillars. We are still talking about Nigeria's security challenges. And you heard amazing revelations that the elder Ayokunle Fagbemi has reeled out. I mean, there was a time in Nigeria where things worked. And I could relate with many of these things that he just said, because Nigeria was so concerned about safety in those days, that safety and security, that sanitary inspectors would come to our houses. They could even open our port and check. That's how, and people did their work. So, sir, where did we get this wrong? And how?
Our values suddenly changed when we started consecrating ideas, normative underpinnings that did not put the human being at the core of most of our conversations. Now, crimes and criminalities are perpetrated by individuals because they are losing their sense of humanity. They no longer love the other man as themselves. They are now selfish, and they are ready to eliminate the other if need be, just to be able to achieve an
their
end.
Objective.
So if we can begin to do a moral reorientation, a value reorientation, we will begin to have a better thing. And this is where the National Orientation Agency is a cardinal entity that we need to appeal to. We are hoping that the new National Orientation DG will be kind enough to scale it down and see what can be done in creating and jumpstarting a national rebirth, where we will keep the citizens in focus and not just having transactional relationship with the citizens, that, oh, every 4 years we need to go back to them and then get their mandate. For us to do that, we need to throw some money, and we are doing it as if you are throwing some grains on the ground for the chicken, to eat and come it this way. And once you are done with using them, you can discard of them. Once that is over, the next thing that we need to do is dovetailing from national orientation, awareness creation, rearmament of attitudinal behavioral changes into the values, will be the public enlightenment and citizens empowerment on civic education and engagement, which will require a number of all of us knowing the existence of these legal and policy frameworks. It is not the lawyer alone that should know the content of the criminal code. It is not a lawyer alone that should know about the administration of criminal justice. All citizens should know, because there are rights, duties, and obligations in them. So that if suddenly I step on your feet and I nudge you, You can jokingly say to me, Oga,
Look what you have done.
this is what you are doing. You are harassing me. And if I take it up, you'll be guilty of harassment. Now, all of us will use style, joking initially, and then you are now documenting it. By joking about it, you have served him a notice.
I know my rights.
I know my right. Don't cross this line. Now, when you have documented as little as just verbal expressions, it means that that individual is capable of reporting. And the next thing that I'll plead, once we now have started reading, we should start taking time to look at our wristwatches, and since some of us no longer wear wristwatches, but we carry our phones. The phones have time. We must begin to take conscious mental note of when this particular incident occurred. That way, it's going to be easy to relate it to other people and document if need be.
And we could even use the phone as evidence and to take photograph, do recordings.
Thank you very much. We are now documenting and doing all these things. The number 3 is that we will now need to appeal to our various agencies and entities responsible that those who are there should be kind enough to know that when they did I beg to apply and they enlisted and went through the training and they are being paid, they must do their jobs as they have been instructed to do. It therefore means, should any incident occur, we must no longer observe a situation where crimes and criminalities have occurred, people have been killed, a house has been burgled, and we do not have the police come in to do proper crime scene management. And this is another area where I will plead with Nigerians. We do not pray for any evil, but peradventure, anything happens in any location, kindly help to preserve that particular crime scene. Don't rush there. Allow a few persons to first gather the data by using phones and things like that to be able to document.
And if need be, cordon it off before the officers arrive.
Before the police and security law enforcement officers arrive. And this brings me back to when the security law enforcement agents arrive as well, they too should do the needful of cordoning off, and then they begin to do proper crime scene management. This way, we will be in a position to have proper first incident reports that can now lead to the activation of the relevant provisions of the Police Act, with which they can now seek to apprehend. And if they succeed in apprehending, they can prosecute and prosecute effectively. That way, we would be making the kind of progress that will stop and be a counter force against the cyclical nature of some of these incidences that we have been having. Because in some communities, in some jurisdictions, we have been having a situation where the victims of today, because they did not get justice from the social justice from the system, they will end up become perpetrators tomorrow. And that ought not to be. People ought not to take laws into their hands. We need to now begin to empower. The next set of people involved in the administration of criminal justice that I want to plead with are dovetailing from the police. The police should kindly remember that along with the Police Act of 2020, we have the Nigerian Police Force Order 20, which expects that they must quickly interface with legal personnel.
Yes.
Actually, every police formation should have a legal unit
team, yes,
embedded there
in there
to make sure that they do the needful and do compliance.
And protect human rights.
Protecting human rights and fast track a number of things. I will plead with the legal practitioners to understand that if they do not allow proper investigation and they are just saying, oh, my client, whether the victim or the perpetrator, both are interested in seeking justice and achieving that for the common good. The lawyers must collaborate, partner, and deliver for the common good in such a way that the crime and criminality that we are dealing with will no longer be a thing that some people will say, all I need is to have a good lawyer. Then proceeding to that, it means that the police must be well nuanced so that they can fast track and then do a charge sheet early enough and then prosecute, and then going through the court system, we can deliver. Because if we succeed in having a situation where a crime was committed, some persons were apprehended early enough, and then they were prosecuted and convictions secured, we will not be having the kind of epidemic that we are now having. I'll use the kidnapping as a good example.
It's an epidemic.
Kidnapping is a crime.
Yes.
Forceful abduction of anybody is a crime. Then it becomes a financial crime when you collect ransom. Now, you ask, how come ransoms are being paid? And then there is an information management system that is becoming cloudy now. The victims will eventually say they paid. The police or security would have said, we succeeded in helping to rescue. But the victims will now come and say, don't take glory for what you did not achieve. We paid ransom. This is the amount in some cases that was paid as ransom.
Ransom has been said by the police not to be illegal. Officially.
Ransom, by our laws, is a crime.
But people are paying.
But you will be left with no choice. I still recall a good brother and friend, professional security operative, Mike Ejiofor, a former director of SSS.
Yes.
He said he used to say before his experience that don't pay ransom. But when he himself was kidnapped, abducted,
yes,
after he came out, he now will say, if you can pay the ransom to get out,
to save your life and get out,
please do. But we must now talk about ensuring that all the agencies of financial crimes are
doing their work. Thank you so much, Elder Ayokunle Fagbemi. It's a very deep discussion, and you have really opened our eyes to a lot of things. And I'm feeling nostalgic about the way things were before. This beat police up to alert level, then up to divisional police level. We don't seem to see this in our communities anymore. But the people that are concerned, you have heard, we can transform this country if every one of us is doing what we are supposed to do, and we do it right, knowing fully whether we are doing it for the purpose of the common good, not for our selfish reasons. I think we have to bring you back again, sir, for this for the second part of this discussion, because we need to talk about states and all those things. Viewers, I know you have enjoyed the discussion, and Elder Fagbemi is a library, it's a repertoire of a lot of cherished wisdom on safety, security, diplomacy, development, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to having you again.
Yes.
It's development pillars, and we hope you have enjoyed today's edition. We look forward to seeing you next time. But I want you to know this: we have all contributed to this nation that we have built that looks as if it's insecure today. It was Nigerians that were hired by the telecom operators to register SIM and that one was bungled. So that's why today we cannot, people still use telephone to commit all manner of crime, to cheat people, to dupe people, and to use phone to demand for ransom. And we cannot trace these numbers because those who are hired by the telecoms to just do simple work, register people, use their identity card, take their data, we bungled it up and we'll be complaining. So we have all played one role or the other. Those criminals are living within a community and their neighbors see them driving big and flashy cars and they keep quiet. So please do your part and we can make Nigeria work. See you next week. God bless you.